Based on circumstantial evidence, eyewitnesses, forensic and logical evidence, deductions from the ballistician put together constituted the means to establish the fact that the defendant, Assistant Superintendent of Police, Drambi Vandi, is guilty of the murder of a Lagos-based lawyer, Mrs. Bolanle Raheem, and has since been sentenced to death by hanging. The court held that the prosecutor was able to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt and find the accused guilty of murdering the pregnant lawyer. It will be recalled that the late lawyer, Bolanle Raheem, who was in company of her husband and children, was shot on the 25th of December 2022 at Ajah roundabout in Lagos State, while ASP Drambi Vandi was arraigned on the 16th of January 2023. The Directorate of Public Prosecution tendered 27 exhibits and presented over 10 witnesses, while Vandi was the only witness who testified for his offense. So, what lesson can Nigerians learn from this case, and what next after the pronouncement of the judgment? Nigeria Today will be discussing these and more as we speak to the topic, Justice for Bolanle Raheem. I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome. Now, joining me in the studio via Zoom for the discussion is from Lagos, is a human rights lawyer, Queen Oniwo. You're welcome to the program. Also joining us in the studio for the conversation is a public affairs analyst, Jide Ojo. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
It's a pleasure too. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
Now, Jide, I'll just start off with you. Now, what do you make of the entire case? Would you say that justice has been done?
Definitely, justice has been served, and we need to commend Justice Harrison for a very lucid and very well-researched and well-thought-out judgment today. At least this will bring closure to the unfortunate incident that happened on Christmas. You know, somebody said bad day is not for dying. Christmas is also not meant for dying because that's the day for merriment. But that's the day Drambi chose to snuff life out of a innocent lady who at the point of her death was also pregnant. It's a double tragedy that not only did this happen on a Christmas day, it also happened to someone who is heavily pregnant, coming from church. You know, after church service, they were to just hang out, buy some snacks at an eatery, and then head home. And just negotiating roundabout somewhere in Ajah in Lagos, you know, you have this, maybe it's accidental discharge, but the most unfortunate thing is that Vadi never even showed remorse. He was even claiming that he's not the one that shot. And you could see that he could not call any witness. You know, there were 11 witnesses against him, the ballisticians, the pathologist, the sister of the deceased, the husband of the deceased, even eyewitnesses. All of them testified that he was. Why did he run? Why did he quickly change into mufti if he knew he was not guilty? And maybe if he had shown some remorse and, you know, apologized, that verdict of, hanging may have been mitigated to maybe, 20 years imprisonment. But it also, from what you said about lessons to learn.
No, before you get there, GD, now, what is your assessment of the criminal justice in Nigeria, given the fact that this incident happened in December 2022?
It shows that we are improving with our criminal justice system, because some cases like that, most of which is criminal allegations, which you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt, could have lasted for almost 10, 15, 20 years. But this one was done within barely 9 months. 9 months. And because the case started in January, And here we are on 9th of October, judgment has been served. Of course, Vadi has a right of appeal. He could go on appeal up to Supreme Court. But I think for the husband, for the family of Bolanle Raheem, they will know that, okay, their loved one has not died in vain. Because there's even if there's any compensation, it cannot bring back that life. We are talking of minimum of 2 lives here. The pregnancy and the person who was carrying the pregnancy. More so, she was at the point of her death, a lawyer herself. So it's quite tragic and very unfortunate. And it needs, to one has to say this, that policemen need to learn the right lessons from this. Recklessness, accidental discharges, whatever may have led him to do that. Maybe he was drunk early that morning, because this happened about midday. So you don't expect somebody to start, being unless maybe the guy has a mental health issue. Because I don't see. It's not like there was an argument. It's not like there was a fisticuff. This incident more or less was like an accidental discharge. But even at that, the guy never honed up.
Okay.
He was trying to lie on himself.
Okay, Ejide, I'll have to stop you there to allow Queen to, have a say here. Now, Queen, what do you make? I understand you were in court when the judgment was given. So, what do you make of the entire case? What would you say? Would you say justice was served?
Thank you. Good evening, my presenter. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be here. The death of our colleague, Bolanle Raheem, on the Christmas Day was a tragic one, to say the least. It was one too many. The police impunity, law enforcement agencies that we have had, it was like the height of it. That death was a needless one. But today at the court, the Honorable Justice Harrison was able to put a closure and dispense justice to the families of the victim. We know of a surety that we cannot bring back the dead, but we can put a halt to the impunity of law enforcement agents. These are men that we have chosen or appointed, as it were. Of course, they volunteered to join either the armed forces or the law enforcement agencies to protect lives, to keep law and order. And someone decided to use what he's supposed to use to protect lives to take a life. And mind you, this is not just one life. The saying that when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. This is a mother, a business owner, someone who pays salaries to employees. This is someone's wife, someone's daughter. It was one too many. And today at the court, despite the defense of the accused person, which did not hold water, there was overwhelming evidence that it was a deliberate attempt to snuff life out of a citizen. Of course, when you pull a trigger at a gun, the probable consequence is that death will result. And we want to appeal to the police and to other law enforcement agents that this judgment should be studied, and their operations will need to be reviewed. Before you put gun to the hand of your men, there is a need for proper training, proper evaluation. Thank you.
I really will say it's quite unfortunate, the incident that led to the death of your colleague. But however, having heard the judgment or having given the judgment, what next? You'll just tell us from your own point of view as a lawyer, what next? The person, of course, will not just sit down and, he has the right for appeal, isn't it? Tell us about that.
Yes, we want to reassure the general public. I am speaking on behalf of myself as a human rights lawyer and a representative of one of the ministers in the Temple of Justice, as we usually refer to ourselves as lawyers, that even though the accused person did not allow his victim the right to defend herself, he didn't give her an opportunity to say, no, let me park, or why would you want to shoot me, before taking her life. In his own case, justice was for him. He had his day in court. He had his right to defense and fair hearing. And of course, under our laws, the Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, he has a right of fair hearing, and the right of appeal is for him. Whether he will want to exhaust it, I wouldn't know. So what next would be based on what his defense team will want to do. But be that as it may, we are elated with the speed at which justice was dispensed. Like my co-presenter has said, this came in 9 months after that incident, and with all the overwhelming evidences, I'm sure that I'm not talking for the Court of Appeal or the court of the next on the next rung of the hierarchy of courts, but I am sure that any judge reviewing that case or having to appeal will really have nothing to upturn. I say this with all sense of responsibility because I'm not a judge. Yeah, but in the interim, I'm sure he will be in prison until such a time he exercises his right of appeal.
Queen, let me ask quickly, I know you said it was a speedy dispensation of justice, but I understand that under the actual, the criminal, a criminal matter is expected to be kind of heard on a daily basis, which of course would have, led to the maybe to be, faster or, no, okay. In your own opinion, would you say, or can you say that it would have been faster than this? Because having this kind of judgments, there's quite a lot of cases that are still there that needs this kind of, speedy dispensation.
Every other day. Okay, my Lord Justice Harrison is a judge in Lagos State, and given the volume and the volume of cases on the dockets in Lagos State, an average judge has close to 1,500 cases to dispose. And my Lord had industry in these judgments, the speed with which the cases were heard. I mean, the case was heard. It's still commendable. I'm sure if we're asking for something faster, it's like asking Oliver Twist ask for more. And this will depend on how well the judiciary is being funded, how well the will of the executive to create more avenues with which justice can easily be served. Our judges are overworked. They are the kind of the volume of cases that we have on the dockets, and of course, the wheel of justice grinds slowly but surely. When you know that you have to hear all parties, the intricacies that goes on with lawyers having to present the case of their clients, and then this is a criminal trial, and it has to be proof. It has to be based on proof beyond reasonable doubt, which affords the defendant and the prosecution to really put a lot of effort to convince the court of their cases. And of course, the court had to examine both sides before reaching her decision. In my own mind, the court has done noble, considering the time with which the case was concluded. Asking for more will depend on a lot. Will depend on how well and how fast and how well funded our court system in Nigeria is. Thank you.
Very much, Queen. Now, Jide, what does this message send, or this verdict send to the members of the public, especially the people bearing arms?
Yeah, for me, I think all the security agencies bearing arms need to exercise caution in the way they deploy such arms. Yes, the ammunition was given not to kill innocent citizens, but to protect them against marauders, against whoever wants to molest them. So you are not supposed to turn the same ammunition that is purchased for you with taxpayers' money on innocent citizens. Even if a crime, assuming without considering that Bolanle Raheem even did anything, it's not for you to to kill her extrajudicially. What the law says is you effect arrest. And when you arrest, you know, she makes a statement and then you can detain, and then she has a right to a lawyer. And you know, the court process, I mean, the way to treat a suspect is not to kill. And in this particular instance, because I followed this very closely, there was even nothing that should have warranted even shooting the tires of the car, not even to shoot the person. There is nothing. They wanted to negotiate a U-turn. So if you must, assuming they even, maybe the husband was the one driving and he drove recklessly, the next thing is for you to say park, and then you can impound the vehicle, not for you to take laws into your hands and shoot. So I hope all the agencies, security agencies, from police to DSS to civil defense to Nigerian customs to immigration to down to even civil defense, will learn the right lessons, that those weapons they have on them or assigned to them is to protect innocent citizens, not for them to kill extrajudicially. And like Queen said, this is one death too many. And it does not all go well in the eye of the international community. A country that can snuff life out of innocent citizens is not worth investing in. So it has a way of scaring away investors if you don't have security of lives and property in your country. And this extrajudicial killing, it's been on for a very long time. And I will tell you for free, Eukarya, this is part of why there was an NSAS, protest in 2020.
We don't want NSAS. We need peace. We don't want that.
It's part of the reasons why the movement. Because
let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. Protest started in Warri.
Let's not talk about that.
As a result of extrajudicial killing of someone.
Let's not talk about that now, because we want peace in Nigeria at this point. What we want is peace. We want, thank God, there's improvement, just like you rightly said, in the judicial system, concerning our criminal justice. Now, Queen, Jide has really mentioned something, a very pertinent issue: sanctity of life. Now, given the fact that the right to life is alienable, a right to life is an alienable right. Now, how would you describe the respect for the right to life in Nigeria?
Yes, right to life is sacrosanct. It's a fundamental right. It's a human right. It's a right that is guaranteed under the Constitution, under the United Nations Charter. Right to life is so sacrosanct that you just don't take life because you don't give it. both religions that we officially practice in Nigeria. I say both because you have people say they're either Muslims or Christians. They uphold the sanctity of life. And even in our own culture, as traditionalists, for some people who are traditionalists in Nigeria, they believe that you don't take life, not for any reason. And so when we have statistics staring on our face, 20 killed in a massacre, 10 killed in riots, we look at those things as mere statistics. But these are human beings. These are people with parents, people with wives, people with children. Perhaps if we don't reduce them to statistics, 100 die from angry mob, from terrorist attack. If we don't call it some appellation and we call it what it is, call a spade, we would know that we are doing damage to our international image if we don't do something about it. Perhaps if we don't call Bolanle Raheem and put a face to Bolanle Raheem, and we say unknown gunman killed a lawyer on Christmas Day, perhaps we might not be here talking about justice. I want to give credit to the sister of Bolanle Raheem. She was indeed the heroine of the story because she defied all odds to apprehend the accused person and said, "You killed my sister." And of course, the dying declaration of the woman, she kept saying, "Oh, the gun has hit her chest." Perhaps if we turn another leaf as we begin to reorientate ourselves, that life is sacred, that it is not just statistics for the government, for the people. You can imagine 20 people in a room, and then they just tell you these people are dead because someone who is a terrorist did this, or someone who is a law enforcement agent, or there was a mob, there was an angry crowd that charged that, the stories and the headlines that we see. Perhaps if we begin to look deep down in, we know we're losing a lot in human capital.
In 30 minutes, what will this verdict do to the confidence of the public?
I think it will make the Nigerian public to have faith in the judicial system and also in the policing system, because the Nigerian police did not side up with one of their own in this. Otherwise, maybe we would have been talking of something else. So it also shows that when judiciary wants to work, they can actually work. This is a criminal offense, a criminal trial that lasted barely just under 9 months, and the judgment was given. And I want to encourage the judicial officers, the judges, the justices, to always, expedite action in communal. I know what Queen said about the volume of, cases that is being given to them. I will enjoy government to engage and employ more judges so that you can have fewer cases and they can deal thoroughly and expeditiously with those cases. Because how can one judge be having about 1,500 cases and you think he or she will be able to give judgment within a reasonable time? She's not superwoman, or he's not superwoman. So we need to employ more judges. We need also to improve the living standard of judges. We need to give them technological tools with which that can aid the dispensation of justice.
Thank you very much, Jide. And that's it on Nigeria Today. I'd like to appreciate Queen Oniwo, a human rights lawyer who joined us from Lagos via Zoom. Thank you so much for being part of this program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Jide Ojo, for Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much for lending your voice and sharing your thoughts with us.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you for being part of the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. Good night.